Hello! This live is for all my followers who are living that nightmare of infidelity or have been on that roller coaster of trying to heal from an affair, emotional or physical. So stats say that, we're gonna let Sarah in, or Soraya, sorry. Soraya, there we go. So stats say it can take years to heal from infidelity, but my guest Soraya and I think differently. It can take a matter of months to really make some good progress on this journey. So just waiting for my friend Soraya to come in, who is the coach and creator of the program Beyond Breath. She's taken her own personal experience and her own healing from betrayal and now helped hundreds of women do the same, returning to their bodies and repairing their marriages. So Soraya, just see if you can request to join Soraya, see if that helps. So she has 6 kids, she loves yoga, reading, outdoors, and loves having her feet on the ground. So we're gonna have a great conversation today about what strategies to really use to fight for your marriage. And really fighting for your marriage isn't just your marriage, it's often kids, with your husband, it's your lifestyle. So we're gonna dive into all things that today. All right, here she is.
Hi, I always struggle with the send request, and it doesn't go through right away. So thanks for being patient with me.
I feel the same too. I can never get it to go so that it requests you to come in too. So anyway, you're here. I'm so excited that you're in.
Yeah.
And we have a great conversation today. We're going to talk about the top strategies that you can use to really fight for your marriage. And I don't love the word fight because it's never this like intense, like aggressive, like fighting process. It's really just a feel and be in it kind of process to really save your marriage. There shouldn't be a struggle with it per se. And if there is a struggle, that's the time to set back and try and really figure out, why am I feeling this like push, or being pulled every different direction when it really is a place of be and see what comes. So yeah, let's jump off from there.
Yeah. So what I guess, what direction do you want to take it? Because there's a lot of different avenues when it comes to fighting for your marriage, and I know that you and I think differently in that. I feel like in the realm of infidelity, we're told so often that it's the husband's responsibility to make the marriage work after, if he's the one that's been unfaithful, right? Or it's the wife's if she's been unfaithful, right? Either way. And and so often the partner sits by the sidelines and waits for the one partner to fight. And in my experience anyways, that doesn't work. What's been your experience with that? Like what do you think about that?
Well, would you ever in life really just stay on the sidelines and wait for whatever it is you want to happen in life? Like, is that how we approach life in general? And I think it's the same when it comes to infidelity and healing a marriage. Is if you want something, you have to figure out what is it that you want and be able to express your needs and figure out what is blocking you from having that. And sometimes we're blocking ourselves in certain actions that we're taking. So yeah, I agree with you. When it comes to infidelity, so often I hear wives say, I just need him to love me more. I just need him to tell me the truth. I just need this. I'm like, what can you give yourself right now so that you can start to feel that, so that you're not like feeling so out of control and powerless in this? You need to get your power back.
Yeah. I think that it's amazing. You're right. Because like, when in life do we ever sit on the sidelines and not create the life that we want, right? Like if you want to go to college, you do the work, you fill out the applications, you find the finances for it, and you make it happen for yourself, right? But I feel what happens in this trauma is what it's identified as, this trauma, is that we find ourselves paralyzed. And even though we don't want to sit on the sidelines, it's almost like we don't know how to move forward. And so, our husbands on the court, maybe or maybe not, just depending on their, and what their intention is. But, whether or not he's like practicing his skills and dribbling up and down the court, or whatever analogy you want to put, and shooting those baskets, or just sitting there and waiting. When we're in the state of trauma, it's almost as if we can't see clearly what's happening on the court. And so we stay paralyzed for a long, long time. And we live in this unsustainable place within ourselves, in this survival mode for decades, because our body is in this place of paralyzation, and we're living off of I say we're living behind the walls of fear in that.
Yeah, there's fear there. There's sometimes fear if I say or do the wrong thing, I'm going to make the marriage worse. He's going to start thinking about her more. He's going to want to go back to her. So sometimes you don't even assert yourself, and not even assert yourself, but it's like expressing your needs or expressing your feelings because you don't want to push them too far back to the affair partner. Or sometimes you don't want to let them in because you don't want to get hurt again. It's really this like limbo land that you're in of like just feeling so uneasy all the time. So let's figure out how we start to really get back to yourself and what it is you need, and just feeling so not paralyzed where you can actually breathe again and live life again and start to feel happy again.
Yeah, so I mean, people do a lot of things to try to get there, and that's, that it's taken in different roads and different routes from, and all with the best intentions of like, I don't want to live like this. I know something is wrong. I don't know how to fix this, and so I'm going to do everything I can to make this work. And so, from therapy sessions, and they can be amazing, and couples therapy and intensives and workshops or retreats and 12-step groups and support groups and books and podcasts, and I mean, you
Oh,
name
I'm
it, you name
exhausted
it.
thinking of it all.
People do it all though, and sometimes they think like, this is the miracle pill. This one thing that I haven't tried yet is going to be the thing that changes it all and that clicks it for us, and that's usually not the case. And I've been I work with the body and trauma. That's what I'm an expert in, and in my field, and I've been in my field since 2014. I haven't met a woman who hasn't tried all of those things and that it's worked without having set up some sort of fear-based boundary where they're continually staying in that place of hypervigilance, watching to make sure that their husband is complying. And that's not a way to live. Like, no man, no person, no human can live their life being interrogated by somebody else, always in question of somebody else. And so, in that state, like you said, like, it's almost like they're hanging on by that tightrope, both of them, and like trying to not rock, trying to not step on the eggshells, trying to do things perfectly to maintain this somewhat balance, but there's no ground beneath them. And so when something happens, they fall, and they fall right back to the beginning, where divorce is on the tip of the tongue and somebody's packing their bags and ready to go. And so when it comes to fighting for your marriage and really really stepping into that to see if it's going to work, because so many of us aren't sure if you want to stay. We're not sure if we want to stay, and we're not sure if we want to leave. And we wait for our husbands or our spouses to determine that for us. Like, one of my clients just the other day said, I want the truth. I want to know if he's really going to do this with me. I want to know if, he's still talking to her. And as if that truth, like, if I were to tell you right now, he's not, and yes, he loves you, it wouldn't change anything for you. Your
No,
body
I'll
would still
interrupt.
be in
Oh, sorry, I'll just
a
interrupt
place.
that piece too. Sorry, just interrupt you. And if you want that truth, will you actually believe it? Whatever they do say, that's another big piece of it, is the trust.
Uh-huh.
Like, regardless of the answer, you want it. But if he says this, says this, says this, what would you believe? And most likely it's none of it a lot of the times, from what
Right,
I
right. They
understand.
don't, that's a lot what I talk about, right? Like, you can find evidence, you can continue to gather that ammunition. He can continue to promise you, but until you heal the trauma really within you, you heal that, you're not going to trust what you see or don't see. You're not going to trust what you hear or don't hear. Like, it's all just going to sit up here in this place of question and untruth for you, until you can absorb truth, until you've accepted the truth of your reality, really. So when it comes to fighting for your marriage, and again, it takes two people. It takes two people to save your marriage. And the only person that you have control over is you. And the only person that your husband has control over is himself. And as much as he might be trying to save you, He may be expending energy on you that is impossible to heal. Right? Does that make sense? Like, he may be trying everything that he can to help you become emotionally stable. He may be doing everything that he can to provide healing for you, and it's just going in and out because there is a hole within yourself that won't be filled. And so his energy that he should be using to apply to his healing is going to try to heal you, which is impossible. And your energy is trying to be used in trying to make him heal. And it's just being wasted as well. And so the energy that has to be applied in this healing is individually. Like, my healing has to take place, and that's me fighting for this marriage, and your healing needs to take place, and that's you fighting for this marriage.
Yeah, such a beautiful way of putting it. It's like no one can win when you're both just taking this energy and sending it on to each other, like trying to
Mm-hmm.
check in on your partner who's possibly cheated. And it's them trying to make sure that you trust them, even though you can't trust them because you don't know where your feet belong on the ground. So let's
Mm-hmm.
talk about how to get our feet back on the ground, how to heal that hole within us, how to fight for your marriage by working on yourself first and giving your partner the space to work on them. Like, sometimes that space, I've got two things going here. I got like starting to fill holes, but also giving your partner the space so that they can fight for their marriage by healing themselves. Let's go with that one first, actually. How do you work on creating that space where you don't watch them all the time? How do you work on that within your mind so that your system isn't constantly just wanting to check or ask or go to those intrusive ruminating thoughts?
Yeah, and that's part of the healing of the trauma, right? Like, the trauma that you've experienced is going to continue to try to keep you safe or protect you from further hurts. And so when your mind or your brain is showing you those images, um, and it's in a hope that by showing you these, you are going to continue to stay wary and cautious because you don't want to get hurt again like this, right? But what happens is we set up a dance or a program in our relationship where it almost becomes expectant. And this is what's really scary, is when you do separate the defined, you separate the enmeshed lines or the blurred lines of us as a couple, and you start to define it as an individual. Because even though he doesn't like you checking on him, he feels safe with you checking on him. And I don't know if that makes sense, but like, it becomes I just see the bird there right on my screen. Somebody flipped us off, and that's all I can see right now. Um, right back at you. Like, that becomes his familiar, even though he hates it, right? Like, it's some sort of control that he feels that he has by knowing that she's going to check up on me, right? And so when we separate the meshed lines of that emotional enmeshment that we have, it's really scary because it throws everything off from what we've been doing in the past to find some sort of ground or to find some sort of safety. And so it takes a lot of and again, like, I work with women in this situation, and men have to do the same thing to find their own healing. But what happens is, the woman has to be in a place where she wants this. She wants herself more than anything. She wants herself more than anything. And it's so scary because I was actually just thinking about this morning when I was doing the laundry. Like, when things are good, you try so hard, again, to walk on that tightrope and not fall off. You want to keep things exactly as they are. You don't want to ruffle feathers. You don't want to step on eggshells. Like, you just want it to be exactly what it is, because that is safe. Like, there's no volcanic eruptions. There's no anything going on, right? And so we put ourselves in this like robotic situation where we're trying to keep things exactly as they are. But a marriage doesn't work like that, right? A marriage doesn't work in a robotic state. A marriage doesn't work with you checking on him. And so when you do start to define the lines of who you are, you have to be prepared for anything. You have to be prepared for a request to return to the state that things were, because it felt safe, because this feels so unknown, and through that unknown it's so scary, right? You have to be prepared for him not wanting you to pull away or not care in the way that you have cared, because again, that feels scary for him because he has found some sort of sense of control and safety within that, right? And you found some sort of safety or control within his response of that. And so it really is this defining lines. And you know, when I talk about the body, like where you begin and where you end is the work that you have to work on the physical state of your body, from the ground up to the crown of your head, the right side of your body and the left side of your body, the front of your body and the back of your body. Like that's what you have to work with. That's what you have control over. And when you show up in the way, you know, in the way that I teach, where you're honoring yourself with reverence and respect, that's what you're holding on to, regardless of his reactions, regardless of his responses. And I know that sounds weird, but that's what fighting for your marriage looks like, because you can't go into your marriage not as your whole self. You have to be whole within you. And what's amazing through this is you find the answer that you're looking for. You find your truth when you step into yourself and you unravel yourself from him. And sometimes that truth is, he is working on this. I can see that. And no, we're not perfect and we're going to have mistakes. But if I have myself, that's all I need. And that's what I will require and command of this relationship, that I will hold myself this way. And that's my job, right? And it's not done with ego or with pride or with I'm better than you. It's done with wholeness and done with love.
Yeah, and when you can distill it down to that, really quick, when you can distill it down to that, it's so simple. There's more to it than that, but it's just that's a simple thought. Like it's just me, and you keep bringing it back to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and you know, when you go to have a conversation, the intention is to be closer to you. That's my intention, right? It's not to start a fight. It's not to get an answer from you. It's not to prove myself to you. It's not to anything. It's not to point fingers at you. My intention of speaking to you, my intention of communicating with you, is done with the desire to be closer to you. And so that's what our actions are. And that's not out of desperation. That's out of, I'm close to myself right now. I have myself completely. And now I desire to be closer to you. And what you benefit from that is me. You benefit from this relationship, me as a whole person, instead of me trying to be robotic and fearful and living in the way that I think that you want me to live so that you'll choose me and not go wayward. No relationship lasts in that model.
in
Right, in
your
that method.
experience, if a partner, like a husband, gives a backlash to that, or the spouse is like they just don't seem to understand how you have to put yourself first, how you come back to you. What strategies or tactics do you have for that?
Well, and that's the second part of what I was going to say, is that's truth. You want truth. That's truth. And where he is in his place is that, and I, you know, I talk about truth being right here. Truth is right here. Like you and I are on a call right now. There's some people watching, right? Like this is the truth of our reality in this moment. And when you step into this and you're whole within yourself and you receive that backlash, that's truth. And from that moment, you have choice. And that doesn't mean this one moment is defining that our marriage is over. It just means that from this moment, I have a decision to make. And that decision is, do I stay? Do I feel emotionally safe? Can I continue to hold myself in this way? Or if I stay, will I lose myself? Will I be brought back down into the depths of our traditional dance that doesn't work, right? And then you can navigate that for yourself and take it to where you're, and that's what I talk about, like the trust that you're looking for in your relationship is found within yourself. Like you need to get to a place where you can trust that if this is a safe place, and even though this conversation might be hard, we're moving, there's movement, or this isn't a safe place, and my emotional, the integrity of my person's being questioned. I'm having to shield myself from blows, to be knocked down. I'm going to choose to take myself to safety, and that's the trust you're looking for. Nobody else can provide that trust for you. your husband cannot provide that trust for you. And so that's when the backlash is shown to you. And when you've done the healing that you need to, you'll be able to see that as clarity. It will no longer be fuzzy and unsure of what to do with this information. That's what trauma does. It keeps you in that confused, like the executive functioning part of your brain doesn't work, the cognitive part of your brain doesn't work, right? And so you can sit in that backlash and fight back and try to explain and try to defend and try to, point the finger back or whatever it is, but that doesn't do anything. That doesn't do anything at all, right? And so the backlash response is truth. And then you have to navigate your life, your body into safety, whatever that looks like for you in that moment. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's so empowering when put that way, that you can create your own safety, you can create your own trust, and all that really matters is you. So I'd love to talk a little bit more about some of that body experience. But we did have a question earlier. It said, is it normal to feel scared and panicky, even though you and your spouse have been doing really well? So my thoughts here are, you're doing really well, but there's still some doubt in your mind or little flashbacks that are still coming back.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you get to a place of, when you've done the healing and, you really are in a place of balance and homeostasis where for the most part you are happy, like internally happy. You have that sincere control over yourself, and you're not pretending or faking or convincing yourself that things are fine or whatever it might be, right? Like when you're at that place and that something feels off, then the idea is that you can observe that for yourself and you can be curious with that information that your body is giving you. Whereas like my normal stance is balance and peace, and now I'm feeling off, and that's different. So I'm going to investigate that. Is that something that is old and just being shown to me? Maybe I'm coming up on, a year anniversary of something, and so the somatic part of me is is coming up, right? And I have just more healing to do. And as you work through that process of healing the trauma, there's layers and layers and layers of it that show up. And what I define healing from trauma is learning how to live again. And those things are going to come up out of the random weirdness of life, right? And so you have the opportunity to investigate, is this something old and I can move through it? Or is this anxiety that's being shown me right now something that my body's telling me that's current? And am I looking away again? Am I falling back into old patterns where I might be closing my mouth and not using my words, or believing him over believing myself, or second guessing myself, right? And so you have to look at the patterns that you're holding to be able to determine what that information is that your body's giving you. Because I believe that your feelings are information, and you're the only one that can determine that for yourself. And when you know how to speak the language that your body speaks, you can decipher that and translate that the way that you need to. And there's not a wrong or right way, but definitely there's something being said, and so investigate it and you just learn from that.
Yeah, I think being your own detective is the best thing to do, because anytime you feel off, that's when you really got to explore your body on a somatic level, but also explore that thought too. You don't always have to dive into the thought. You can go into your body and just not even ask questions. But sometimes if you do want to go into your mind, I do. I work with the mind and the subconscious, and I have elements of the body too. But if that thought's coming back up again, especially the word normal, that means you might be putting some shame on yourself, or some doubt on yourself. If you're thinking, is it normal that this happens? Absolutely. Everything that happens within your body is exactly what it needs to be. We experience everything for a reason. It's your body's way of communicating to you if there's some panic coming up. If only the body could say, hey, I'm feeling a little uneasy right now, I'm having some memories that are coming back, we would understand it clear as a bell. But it doesn't. It comes up in sensations in our heart, in our stomach, under our ribs, or it comes up as feelings, uncomfortable feelings. So you just have to honor that and start to get curious, like, why is this coming up? What is it that I need to
Yeah.
do within myself? So listening to your body in a way that maybe you haven't been taught to listen to your body. It's your body's way of communicating, and
Yeah.
just getting excited that you notice that that is coming
Mm-hmm.
up. And you know what? I'm ready to honor my body and listen.
Yeah. And what's really important before you can even get to that point, because until you can get, and before you get to that point, you're in the crazy of trauma. And so everything feels dangerous. Everything feels anxious, right? And then you feel crazy, like, is this real? Is this not real? Am I making this up in my head? Am I causing a problem that doesn't need to be caused right now, right? And so when we are in that place of crazy, it's hard for us to understand the language that our body's telling us, because everything just feels so dangerous, right? And so, but when you do the healing, and I love that you work with the mind, and I never ask the question why. Like, one thing that I teach my clients is, it doesn't matter why, because right now in this moment, this is what you're experiencing, and so this is what you have to work with, right?
Mm.
And so there's different modalities to this, but when you can get to a place where you're just understanding what your body's telling you, then the curiosity can be piqued. Until you heal that trauma, though, that curiosity only causes more chaos.
Oh, I
And
agree.
so healing that brain body connection is the very first step that I believe is needed to be able to understand anything else that's being done. Um, because without that calm, without that peace, without that homeostasis and balance, you're just going to continue to second guess and question and not believe and talk yourself out of something and try to figure it out up here, when what I work with is like, everything is here, like your answers are here, the power that you have right
Mm.
now in this moment is here. And that looks like, if I am in anxiety and things have been fine, I need to navigate that. And what's going to carry me into that navigation, and what's going to hold me with myself, are my feet on the ground. And my entire body will show up into the place that I need to be, and it will continue to navigate me into the place that I need to be, over and over and over again.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
I agree with you. I really do. In regards to, if your nervous system and you are all, if you're not in flow, you can't do much because you're just in a fight or flight situation. So I agree with you
Yeah.
100%. The body has to come first, and calming that body and getting it back to homeostasis. Let's talk about some of your strategies, or any simple exercises that you can share today that will help in some of those moments where you're feeling like the balance isn't there.
Yeah, so the one thing that I, teach, and that there's a lot more to it, but with my clients, the very first thing I teach them is earth, body, soften, breathe. And that is just, like, bring your awareness down to the ground, and feel your feet, feel the texture of the carpet or the tile, the coolness, whatever it is that's holding you. And for me, that's a first step of trust. Like, I can trust that I am held, and I don't need to hold myself up. Like, I can give my awareness, my weight to the earth right now, and it's not going to collapse beneath my feet. Like, I'm held in this moment. And then and then from that holding place, when you realize that you don't have to hold yourself up, um, you can soften. And and that softening sometimes looks like an external shift of the shape of your body, or maybe it's just internal, where you release your jaw or you unclench your glutes. But through that softening, your breath changes. And I work with the body, and your body is the vessel in which your breath's capacity is offered. And if you're tight and restricted within, um, your body, your breath is going to be tight and restricted as well. And breath is life. And unless you change your breath, your life is going to stay the same. And in order to change your breath, you have to heal your body. And so that earth, body, soften, breathe is the tool that I share, that I give, and that I encourage over and over and over again, because that brings you right back here to this moment. And right here in this moment is where your healing is going to continue or start. There's no truth that you need out there. The only truth you need is found right here.
So true. So often we look too far ahead, being like, what if this happens again? Or I don't bring it back to right now. Right now, I am okay. Right
Mm-hmm.
now, I am
Mm-hmm.
okay. And
Yeah.
when you can just distill it back to now, you are okay. Things are going to be okay. You're doing exactly what you need to. I guess lastly, I was going to see if you had anything else you wanted to add.
No, I mean, I love, it's hard. This, this niche is hard when you say like, I'm helping you fight for your marriage. I'm helping you save your marriage after infidelity, right? And I mean, there's so much talk about lashback. Like it's like a war zone in my Instagram feed with people shaming this idea of how dare you tell people to stay with an abuser, like, I mean, on and on and on. And like, that's the point is that you can't see that they're an abuser if you're stuck in the place of trauma, right? You can't decide if your marriage is worth fighting for until you heal your body. And so that is the first piece that has to be done. And then from there, do you have choices? But the choice that you make needs to be done from a place of peace, because what's on the other side of a decision made of peace is peace. You can't make a decision to leave your marriage out of fear, because what's on the other side of that is fear, and you just carry that with you into your next relationship and your next relationship. And so, when you're fighting for your marriage, the first things you're fighting for is you. You're fighting for yourself.
What I wrote down,
And
the
you,
first thing I wrote down was, are you fighting for your marriage or are you fighting for you? It's so true what you just said.
yeah, yeah. And you have to fight for yourself. And it's not, again, it's not ego, it's not selfish, it's not pride, it's not I am better and I'm deserving of this. It's more like, I know who I am and I will command this. And I know that we can be better than this, and I'm going to fight for that. And how I'm going to fight for that is me showing up and being the best person, the best version of me that I can be. And that's what fighting for your marriage looks like. And sometimes you have the dream relationship and sometimes you leave, but either way there's peace that follows when you do it from this place of connection within yourself.
Yeah, and I'll add peace, but clarity. So
Mm-hmm.
often,
Yep.
peace feels lovely, feeling happy, feeling peace. But so many women I talk to, like, I just don't know what to do. I'm like, I don't know what you need to do either. You have to go inward. And when you
Yeah.
do that work, get yourself there, the clarity will come. You'll know exactly what you need to do and
Yeah.
when it's time to stay and when it's time to go. And
Yeah.
that's the beautiful part of this. It'll be like, okay, I get it, I
Mm-hmm.
see it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really empowering too, that you're not
Yeah.
just like, doing things at the whim of friends telling you to go or friends telling you to stay or searching on
Mm-hmm.
Instagram to see what people think you should do, and
Mm-hmm.
you really
Yep.
know from your inside what you should do. So I
Yeah.
love that you brought that up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, where can people find you?
So I'm here on Instagram, Soraya.Bastion. My program is called Beyond Breath. I work with women who are suffering the heartache of infidelity, and I help them to heal their trauma brain and regain ownership of their body so that they can reclaim their life and their relationship without, wasting their life away waiting for their husband to tell them the truth, or searching through their phone, gaining more ammunition and wasting their life away through the police and detective work. Like that's what trauma is. That's how trauma shows up, and we have to heal that so that you can really decide how to move forward. I have a free webinar that's linked in my bio here on Instagram, so you can check that out. And then if you want to work with me, you just would schedule a 45-minute session. We just make sure Beyond Breath is a fit for you, and it's an amazing, amazing, beautiful course. Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. I love that. And any of your followers who are watching me, I'm Beth, and you can find me here on Instagram. I have a great little guide, 3 ways to save a marriage. You can get that from freemarriageguide.com. And I have a marriage saver program, but I don't actually guarantee to save the marriage. What I do is I guarantee that you'll have that clarity whether to stay or go, and you'll come out feeling, I always call it your 2.0, 3.0 version of you,
Mm-hmm.
whoever it is that, whatever version you're on, but you will come out knowing that you've given your marriage everything you've gotten or everything you need to give in it, and you're at a place where if it's on to your next relationship, you'll have those skills, the communication, the
Mm-hmm.
ability to give affection and have that intimacy. Or I call it the big three. Usually it's communication, the other one's affection, intimacy, or the infidelity. You've got to a place where you've healed from those. So
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
lots of
I
tools
love
out
it.
there. So yeah, check out
Yes.
your webinar or grab the guide, and I will give you the replay if you would like to post that on your platform,
Yeah,
and we
sure.
can share that with anyone who didn't catch the whole thing because someone did give a comment. Will we be posting that? So I'll send it your way.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Beth, for having me on again. I love talking to you.
I love it too. You have such an incredible, like, it's just so empowering. I just love the idea that you can heal from the infidelity with your body and with your breath and just through feeling the insides and just where everything is and
Hmm.
not asking questions like why and just being. It's just such a beautiful process. So
Yeah,
thank you for
thank
sharing
you.
your gift with
Yes, of
everyone.
course.
All right, we'll
Thank
see you
you.
later. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.